Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. This is me, Rima.
My name is Emily.
And I'm Jaley.
And guys, today we are going under the sea, so come join us. Exactly. So come join us with this iconic Disney classic. We are on a Disney classic binge and we are enjoying this so much, guys. So for all those of you who have watched this classic, you see it in the title. Hopefully this is nostalgia for you. We haven't seen, the three of us seen this in a long time. I can't call it not watching it the first time, which was the case for Emily for Snow White. Go check out that video. The link should be somewhere in our videos, so go check that out. But this one I think is very special. It's my favorite Disney film growing up. I know, Emily, it was very special for you. Jaylee, I guess it was a toss-up, right? I mean, I think all of us.
Yeah, I would always watch until like the last 20 or so minutes when Ursula transformed. I was a scaredy cat as a baby kid.
Now you're not. Now you're watching
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that me and Emily would probably not be able to watch. So, but yeah, no, I agree. Ursula, this is going to be interesting to see another Disney villain. Like, I don't know why, but I'm kind of more into the Disney villains now as a grown up. Like, I think they're interesting characters. Definitely more well developed with shades, many shades than some of the protagonists. But we'll get into all of that. But guys, so as we get into this is of course available on Disney Plus. You can check out the full unedited reaction because we'll be reacting to it, the entire movie, on our Patreon channel, which is linked down below. So right about now, you should be seeing our teaser reaction. Grab your snack, grab whichever you want to do, and just watch this film with the three of us. I love the Disney logo, right? Doesn't it make you kind of just feel like warm and fuzzy?
Makes me so nostalgic.
Ariel!
Dad's got anger issues.
Dang. Yeah, he got angry fast.
How did she fit through there and he didn't?
Flounder, don't be such a guppy.
She's got a waistline that's like
They something up. I can fit through a pothole.
Oh my gosh! Have you ever seen anything so wonderful in your entire life?
That's your treasure.
Yeah, that is a tiny window hole. That girl is fearless. She was not bothered at all by all that.
How you doing, kid? Whoa, what a swim.
Scuttle, look!
He can write
That's
fiction
very
out of
boring.
this.
Right?
So, they invented this.
Where's
smart
Scuttle's
black
book
to
series?
make fine music. Allow me.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We
Ooh,
wouldn't want to miss
Ursula.
old Daddy's celebration, now
Ursula's
would
so
we?
iconic.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, she's a very cool bad guy.
One of those Bob.
Years
But yeah.
old. I'm not a child.
Don't you take that tone of voice
Oh,
with
she's
me.
Oh
16.
man.
As long as you live under
I'm
my ocean,
16
you'll obey
years
my
old.
rules.
But if you would just listen.
Girl, I didn't know
Okay.
anything.
Just don't see things the way he does. I don't see
Oh,
how
iconic
Oh, it's one of my favorite songs.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
things that they don't reprimand their daughters. Bright young women.
No, they do.
Women.
In that hair.
I know. The hair is everything in this song.
I know. Naturally beautiful hair.
I love that they thought about it. Like they thought about animating the hair in like a really compelling way.
Yeah.
Please, come
Yeah, I
on.
think Eric just left the kingdom to party with these fishermen.
I know.
He's like, I need a break. Oh,
How
so
can you not-
handsome.
I know.
And he has a dog.
Aww.
I just haven't found her yet.
Oh, there she is. Okay, she's sitting on a
Perhaps
thing.
you haven't been looking hard enough.
Oh, believe me, Grim, when I find her, I'll know.
No, not a Titanic.
I was like, you could have held on.
I know.
Smiling at me. Where
This is gonna drop. The ride.
Yes.
So iconic.
Luke is the Duke of Soul. The way he can play the links
Yeah.
Why is the king so strong though?
you're like, everyone talk about Eric. What about
Have you guys looked at the
Triton?
king recently? Pretty
I
good.
love
Dear
this.
Sebastian, I'm concerned about Ariel.
Yeah, he
I
got
mean, he's
abs.
pretty
Have you
hot for
noticed
his
he's
age,
been
I have
acting
to say.
peculiar. I'm going to get through to you. And if this is the only way, so be it.
Love him.
Wow.
There's probably some secret Disney
Justified.
backstory. Like that's where
Yeah.
their mom is. Maybe the humans captured her or something.
Maybe that's what
Oh,
Ursula
that
became
child.
evil too. Like maybe it's his
Poor
ruthlessness. You
sweet
never know.
child.
Look at her gown, like body, like that's
Yeah.
amazing. What she does with her
Like
octopus.
low back, do the
see.
I
low
know.
B.
Thing
Yeah.
for this
So
human.
slay.
This, someone couldn't pay the price, and I'm afraid I had to rake 'em
See,
across
at
the
least
coals.
she
Yes,
tells
I'm
Ariel
not
like
complaint,
everything.
but on the whole, I've been
She's like, I mean,
a
you could turn
saint
into one of these things.
to those poor. The kiss of true love. If he does kiss
Wow.
you before the sun sets on the third
There
day,
is that connect with
you'll
Snow
remain
White. Kiss
human,
of true love.
permanent.
Don't worry. Don't worry, I'll help you. Come on. Come on, you'll be okay.
He's a nice guy. Oh, that's sweet.
Wow. Somebody should find that poor animal and put it out of its misery.
You don't
Yeah,
know
I had the
why,
feels
but
for
you're
this song.
dying to try. You wanna kiss the girl.
All right, guys, you just saw the teaser reaction, and again, you can check out the full unedited version on Patreon for only $1. All our content there, so just go click there, watch this, and then come back to see our review. We, of course, just watched The Little Mermaid. Girls, your thoughts?
Classic.
Mm-hmm. Don't get much better than Miss Ariel.
Yes.
That is
I have to say, like, I think I mean, I'm surprised I still remember all the songs. We have to mention the songs. They're so iconic, right? Like even today, I think for anybody growing up who's seen Little Mermaid, these songs are so iconic, and it's almost like every song like slams, right? Like every
Mhm.
song,
Every
right
song's a
from
banger.
yeah, I mean, except for that first intro, I guess, with the ship people. But I mean, that aside, but even then, it's like sort of fitting the context. But the Ursula song,
Poor unfortunate souls.
the obviously Under the Sea,
Under the sea.
Kiss the Girl,
Kiss the girl.
like just, and even Ariel's just like that little voice thing she has, like that. Like it's sort of beautiful. Like I mean, shout out to the. I wish we had like watched the credits till the end because I was gonna say shout out to the composer
I think
and the singers.
Alan Menken is a big one for the
Oh,
Little
nice.
Mermaid. Yeah.
Hey,
Mm.
impressive you remember. Yeah. Yeah, so shout out to that. I'll see if I can find some names to shout out to. But guys, maybe you want to start off with your thoughts and I'll join you. Let me just do
Yeah. Like look, I think I remembered Alan Menken because he's composed a lot of really great music for musical theater, and he's kind of an icon in that realm when it comes to musicals.
Right.
But I just thought, there's so many scenes in music in The Little Mermaid that you've kind of forgot about, and then you see again, you're like, oh my god, that one's iconic, that one's iconic, that one's
Yeah.
iconic. Like truly,
Right.
besides like in my mind, like I really didn't remember the very beginning or the very end, but
Right.
everything else in between was so juicy and interesting and beautiful, and it just grabs your attention right away, and I can't get enough of this movie. This movie is classic for a reason.
The animation, like the hand drawn quality of it, like I just couldn't
Yeah.
get over her hair for some reason. Like how voluptuous it was under the sea, and then like even how her bangs moved with every move she made when she was above ground. But yeah, I loved that movie as a kid, and I think it still holds up now. I can see why a lot of people were probably like really, really attached to it when the remake came out because it's such an iconic princess.
Yeah,
And
it's
her
such
voice is beautiful. Like you were saying, Rima, every single song in
Yeah.
that movie. Like I'll watch some Disney movies and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that song.
Yeah.
But like pretty much every single song except for the ship song and the little song Vanessa
Yeah.
sings.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a banger.
And Emily, you were right. I just looked it up, guys. So it is Alan Henkin. So shout out to him, and of course the singers, the beautiful singers, who performed all the songs. I feel like yeah, this story is such a beautiful coming of age story. And what I love, and I think this is something I'm noticing with every Disney film, the classic that we're revisiting, how there's a timelessness to it, right? Like when we
Mhm.
saw Snow White, the first, feature film for Disney, 1938, but still we could watch it and enjoy it and not
Mhm.
find a lot of it dated. Like I'm sure there are films that Disney did that would probably not stand the test of time, like
Yeah.
themes or just the social context. But this one and Little Mermaid too, I kind of feel like this movie could have been released in 2024, and for the most part we could just watch it and enjoy it and still be as awed by it. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Like the humor stands, the characters stand. Like there's nothing there that made me think, oh, I can't watch this now, or something feels off, right? That was
Yeah.
incredible. Like how amazing, like the way they came up with the characters and the way they came up with just the storyline. Like I thought it was, for me, the reason this movie stands out and is so special is because I was at that age as like a sort of a young middle schooler about to kind of into my teens at some point, like where you're just developing crushes, and you're kind of,
Yeah.
and so to have, like, I was like, I think we talked about it, like how Prince Eric was such a big crush for all of us.
Come on, Max.
A
Mhm.
heartthrob.
I
Yes.
mean, I don't know how they did it. Like well, of course, their art is fantastic. Like how they just depicted
Mhm.
him to be suave and cool with his teeth, and it's kind of interesting. Something I noticed also. I mean, of course, we talked about Ariel's characterization, how beautiful she is, right, with her
Oh, so
flowing
pretty.
red hair and her beautiful dark blue eyes, and Prince Eric has like sort of a lighter shade. Like the attention to detail to make these characters so attractive that you actually are complimenting them like you would a human,
Mm-hmm.
saying, yeah, he's hot and she's sexy and pretty and everything. And I also noticed something else about how Disney does their characters. Of course, they have a mold of how they draw them, like the shapes and the body types. It's also interesting how they make characters look evil. So, for instance, if you notice, like Ursula's, and this is a bit of spoiler, guys, but I mean, I'm hoping, like Jaley was saying before, if you've seen the movie, you've seen it. But like, there is that where she turns into Vanessa, like she takes on a human form, and she's beautiful, but they just did something with her eyebrows where it's like you can tell, like with her eyes or her eyebrows, that she's evil.
Do you, Eric, take Vanessa to be your lovely?
And I
Mm-hmm.
find that fascinating how they can just bring out these character traits in people's faces just with a little bit of, tweaking, right, of the features.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah,
mean,
you see
I
that
feel like
like sorry.
go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
In like some movies too, like
Yeah.
where I guess this is a spoiler, but if you haven't seen Frozen, there's a character who is good and
Yeah.
then ends up twist being the bad guy, and you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's much further away from Little Mermaid, but Disney
Right.
has kept that consistency where you can definitely tell who's the bad guy because of their eyebrows or their eyes. And I feel like, yeah, it's such a small detail in animation that means so much. And like
Yeah.
in that movie particularly, when you find out that that character's the bad guy, like everything about them changes. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
wow, why didn't I see it before?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
I
yeah,
think
you're so right with Vanessa's eyebrows.
I think Ursula like makes it for me. I think that's what
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
this
Mm.
I was gonna
movie
get to
so
that.
good. Is she's just so evil.
I'll see him wriggle like a worm on a hook.
But she's
Deliciously
also
evil.
like
Yeah.
we said when we were watching the movie, like she was so real. Like she was like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't do this, you're gonna be my slave forever for your
Yeah.
entire
Yeah,
life. Like you're done. but
like
and
she
then
was so she there was no like trickery. I mean, I guess
no,
No.
some
no.
trickery, but she was like, you
I
can
mean, yeah,
try.
by the time she became Vanessa, that was kind of sleazy of her. But
She was like, I
like
didn't expect
she
anyone to
is
actually
so,
do
like visually, vocally, her song is like
Yeah.
I would argue one of the best songs in Disney history. Like I think
Absolutely.
Fortunate Souls really stands the test of the time. And like the scene when she's taking her voice and she's singing is
Yeah.
like it goes so hard for no reason. Like
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
they did not need to make that scene so incredible, but they did.
It
And
Yeah. I
reminds
think.
me
I
of the
think. I think.
Dr. Facilier song,
Yeah.
mm,
No, but
Princess
I
and
was
the
gonna
Frog.
say, guys,
Magic.
like, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's all I had to say. I just like the black magic. I love that.
mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna just say that we are gonna talk about Ursula, and in fact, we have a video I think I just thought of, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Where we're gonna compare the two Disney villains. Maybe at some point we'll talk about the most iconic Disney villain once we've seen a lot more of these Disney films. Like we've seen them, but rewatched them. But we'll be talking about Ursula because I think you're right, Emily. She is the centerpiece. She is one of the most fantastic characters, and so just keep an eye out for the next video we're going to do, which we're going to deep dive into Ursula and the evil queen from Snow White, and kind of talk about, because I'm seeing already, like in my head, like, I mean, this is all impromptu, guys. We don't have anything prepared, we're just going off script, but I'm already seeing some similarities that we can talk about, and who did it better. But like talking about, of course, yeah, it's just like the personality. I think one of the amazing things about this on a story level, this movie is so well done. Just the pacing of it, and what I found was what was incredible. Like obviously when we saw the Snow White version, guys, again, check out the video. We did like a deep dive into Snow White and the review of it. They were kind of obsessed with the technology at the time, like the animation and trying to make it beautiful. So they didn't have a lot of depth in the characters. They didn't have much backstory. Whereas here, I think they really invested in the personality of Ariel. Like you really see this girl who is so, I would say Prince Eric is a little bit, sort of is a bit more of I mean, a dry character, like in the sense, like you don't get too much. What's the word I'm looking for?
But he doesn't have a lot of
Don't-
depth. Like we don't
Yeah,
know
not a lot of
much
depth.
But
about
at
Exactly.
the
him.
same point, I feel like he was one of the first princes to actually get some attention. Like
Mhm.
you don't know anything about the prince from Snow White, and
Oh,
like Prince
absolutely.
Charming and Cinderella barely has anything. Like
Yeah.
I think Prince Eric is one of the first princes that he actually gets like some screen time. But at the same
Lines.
point, yeah, there's no depth. You don't
Yeah.
really know too much
No.
about him.
But I agree with you. I think he's definitely a little bit more depth than the prince, because that guy just seemed like just randomly popping off and then just
He's
randomly
there.
coming. He's like a special appearance. The prince from Snow White is a special appearance. This guy is definitely Prince Eric is much more in service of the story, and you see him a lot. He has a lot to do. But I love the way they depicted Snow White, right from her being this this sort of dreamy 16-year-old who has all these fantasies and her longings and her sort of secret world, kind of into like the way she wants to explore her curiosity. Then her, like, I think the best thing about this film is like the way they depicted the falling in love of these two characters, right? Like the nervousness, the awkwardness, like every little emotion on her face,
Danger.
it hits, right? Like it kind of resonates with us, and it's, you forget that she's just a cartoon character. You're actually rooting for her. You're like, yeah, I feel you, girl. I feel your nervousness. I mean, when there's a scene where, and guys, we'll get into spoilers, so hopefully you've all seen this, but when the dad, King Triton, he like destroys that statue of Prince Eric, like, Daddy, like her emotions, like daddy, and like that whole, like, you feel it, you feel for her pain, her, and then why she's seduced into kind of making this huge sacrifice, right, of trading with the sea witch. I just feel like the characterization and the arc that she follows, it's just so, it's so real, right? It's so,
Yeah, emotions are super well portrayed. One of my favorite like frames of her is when she
Yeah.
first sees Eric dancing on the boat.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could just see like, oh, yep, she got it bad.
And they did such a good job. Like, I was just gonna say that there's so much, sometimes, I mean, I don't want to kind of preach, but I almost feel like people should see this film as a masterpiece in how to create romantic tension and chemistry, because like the way they even showed Eric, right, they started off with these sailors, and then her eyes kind of moved to like the dog, and then you see his feet and all the way up to his face, and you're like, just hit with his presence, and you're like, yeah, I see it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And they had so many such moments, like that awkwardness between them when they're falling in love, before the kiss the girl, like that whole
First
song.
love. Yeah, it's that first love feeling. It's like I got all these emotions and you don't know where to
Yeah.
place it, so you just kind of act a little bit like a freak, and you
Right.
hope he likes it.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
there.
And they did it so well, even in her non-speaking parts, like just with her body language and just with expressing her I don't know, like that desperation that she wants to convey, and at the same time, so I don't know, they did such a wonderful job. It's crazy to talk about acting chops for like cartoon characters, but
Animation,
like
yeah.
I think so well done, like so well depicted and well thought out. So hats off to the animators, because I do feel like, think Jaley, I was talking about this, guys, and if you don't know, like, I write books, and I you can check out my book links if you want to below. But one
No,
of the
she
things I
just
was
made a new
talking,
one.
I made a new one, so you can check it out if you like. But and it's about, it came out on Valentine's Day, so perfect thing to talk about love. It's called Love the Way You Die, so a bit more darker love. But what I wanted to say is, as I was writing it, one of the things I recognized is sometimes you are acting. Like when you're trying to get into the head of a personality, you are kind of thinking of their emotions. And I feel the animators here and the writers here, they had to get into the head of a teenager, a 16-year-old, and how she would be in love. And I think that's why it's so well done, because they really did that deep dive. Like it feels authentic. And I'd be interested to know how the process of it, because it's again, like I said, it stands the test of time. Even today, someone who's a teenager in love could
Yeah.
totally, you know what I mean, relate. um what else? Definitely the animation, right? The kind of artistry of it. um I mean, what did you guys think of that? Like the images, or what are things that stood out for you?
It's so good.
Yeah, this is a
It's
praise
just,
film.
yeah, it's
Praise
just
of the
so
movie.
colorful.
Hmm.
And God, when was this movie came out? Because like, let's
I mean,
see.
it's old, actually. I'm pretty sure, because it feels to me like it's the 90s, but I know it's not. It's probably
Uh,
yeah. So while Jaylee kind of looks that up to share with us, I would say, Emily, anything that stood out for you in terms of scenes of, like,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the scene where Ursula is
1989.
taking her what,
okay, close to 89.
89?
89.
So
Well, not
how
too
many? There's like
that's
50 years between that and Snow White, at least.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's been many years of them developing their technology. So definitely I think it's a lot more, they're like more seasoned at the game at this point. But still, 1989, I mean, think of the technology we have now, right? And I mean, still to hand draw all of this. um but yeah, Emily, you were saying some things that stood out for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, like I said, like the scene where she's taking Ariel's voice, and then like the
Oh,
end scene that I don't think I've seen that last 20 minutes in years and years. And
right.
like as a
Oh
kid you
God.
kind of skip it because you're just like, "Oh, I just want them to be happy, it's over. Like it's over. I didn't have
Yeah.
fun." Um but that scene where she like rises out of the water, it's like
Oh God.
insane.
Hmm.
Like
Oh God.
visually with the storm, it is so scary. Like, and I think you said it during the filming too, where like I can't wait to see this in the live action too, because
Yes.
if
Yeah.
this is scary, that's
Her
gonna be
like
super scary in the live action.
the
Yeah.
sequence of the sea witch version of her like erupting out of Vanessa
Yeah,
was
Oh,
cool, and then
oh
like
yes.
crawling
crawling
towards
The
across
her.
the,
crawl. There we
yeah.
go. That's something out of a horror film. Like, I mean, it's like, that's something I have to say, and we'll talk more about this when we get into the villains, the Disney villains, so to speak. But I mean, Disney doesn't shy away, or at least I know people have a lot of thoughts about Disney today, but at least the original creators of this, they did not shy away, even in that 1938 version, of like inducing fear. Like, they are
Hmm.
not afraid to be like, this is a children's thing, we should tone it down. They're like, no, we're gonna kind of go all out. And just to have her crawl, oh, that sequence, I mean, I don't know with the editing, I mean, if Fred's gonna put that in there, but oof, that was scary. Even now I was like,
I know
oh.
it was so brief, but it was like, and you mentioned something really great, Rima, that I hadn't paid too much attention to. Um, During Poor Unfortunate Souls, how she utilized her tentacles.
Yes.
Like being an animator, not only do you have to worry, like she's using her body a lot in various
Yeah.
ways, but her tentacles are such an extension of her, and there's 8 of them that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
that like
She's
were
literally not
so
supposed
fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we'll talk more about definitely Ursula. I mean, she is, like we said, I think one of the most iconic Disney villains, and she's got tough competition with Scar and the rest. But Ursula is gonna be like revisiting her now. I'm just amazed. We'll talk about some of the other characters. Emily, you had a little bit with King Triton and the sexy man.
Hey,
little
why
sexy,
they make
well
him look
built.
so good though? Right?
Hey, let's see now. Oh, who could the lucky merman be?
Like he's I mean he's like they made him look good. Like he was looking
Mhm.
good. He was looking strong. He's looking fit. He's like
You're like, okay, Aquaman.
I mean he's got how many kids? 8 kids? Where's the
You
mom?
know, you know what I'm
Moms?
thinking? Like, I just think, Emily, while you're saying this, I was like, and you said Aquaman, Chili. I was like thinking they should have a second part 2 live action. And again, guys, we haven't seen the live action. We're gonna watch it with our friend Randy. We're super excited to watch that together for the first time. So that one would have a proper title, first time, because we haven't seen the adaptation. But I was just thinking they gotta get Jason Momoa to do the big white beard. Like that would
Right.
like swoon.
Tell me that wouldn't be great.
It's a look.
It would be. I think he'd be perfect for it too, like the upper body and the yeah.
Because he was supposed to be like he was supposed to be the king. He was like old, he had white hair, but like there was no wrinkles on his face. Like he's looking good, he's looking buff, he's looking strong.
Could
Like
be
drop
that.
a skincare routine.
Yeah, could be that trident in his hand. You know, you never know. It kind of gives him like. But I don't know. Like, what would you say? I mean, this is kind of silly going down this, but how old do you think King Triton actually is? Like, if he's what is it, a dilf? I mean, how
Probably
old is
like
he?
60.
I don't know. He doesn't look that old, but like he looks too
Could
good.
be.
That's the thing. That's the thing that makes it suspect. Like it's like is he
You look so good. You have all this
40,
gray
50?
hair, but you look so good.
He
Yeah.
is. I mean,
Ariel's his youngest, and she's 16.
right. So he had a lot of kids before, I suppose. But yeah, 16, I mean, he could be in his 40s. He could be in his late 40s. You never know. Just got, I mean, of course, I'm thinking these these mermen are kind of like, what is it? They live for eternity, right? I mean, he has no expiration date. But
There
for
you
what it's
go,
worth,
especially with that
yeah,
magic.
with
Gotta
that
keep up with my
magic.
mermaid lore. I'm a little bit behind. I don't know how long they live for. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
old magic because he's kind of like the god of the sea, right? That's kind of
Right.
his.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He is the god. So Triton is kind of getting into, because I was thinking, and I'll talk about a scene here that we were talking about the scenes that blew us away. So Triton is kind of going back to Greek mythology, right? Like we're talking about Zeus and his brother Triton, who's the king of the sea, right? Are we correct in this, or was it a different like?
I mean, it was
God.
Poseidon.
Poseidon. Yes.
Poseidon.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Jaley's got it right. But yeah,
Just
guys,
know
tell
that because
us.
of Percy Jackson.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ideas coming to our mind, but guys, tell us below if you know any lores about mermen, or do they live forever? I think we are more familiar with vampires just because of how often they're depicted, or werewolves, in sort of fantasy films. But I somehow don't think I know enough about mermaids and mermen. Like, I think you hear about that siren, right? The one that calls and brings in, and I guess Ariel's voice had that sort of quality, right, where it could mesmerize you. I mean, and that's something I thought about, because there is a sequence where Ursula is using Ariel's voice and it kind of hypnotizes Eric. So
Yeah, that was
I
kind
mean,
of
so
not
is it
really
just,
explained.
is that her powers, or is that just the voice of a mermaid that has that quality, the magical quality to hypnotize you? I
Like
don't know.
I would have thought that just her singing voice would have been enough to convince
Yeah.
him if he was like in his head, but the fact that her singing voice also like put him in a trance, like maybe it's just the dark magic of Ursula. But
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but yeah, you do hear of like the whole like the siren kind of calling you. I think that was reference to that mythical character who kind of causes ships to get shipwrecked and stuff, because that voice is like puts you in a trance. So yeah, let us know if there are any lores that we should be familiar with. It's kind of exciting to explore that. But yeah, this universe that they've created, so beautiful, right? Like with the whole like starting off with the procession, the kingdom, and again, like Disney does it again with the animals. I think there is no other company, particularly with the original Disney films, that, in my opinion, it made me an animal lover from a young age watching Disney movies, like watching Bambi, watching Snow White, watching, Little Mermaid. I think they must be somewhere, they must be in love with animals, or I don't know, it's just maybe the ethos of the company, but they are so able to make these characters come to life, like animal characters, whether it's Scuttle, whether it's Sebastian, and give them these amazing personalities that you just look at
I love
creatures in a
them.
different way, right? Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
Flounder, the fish. And I just think Disney is one of the few companies, at least back in the day, to be able to do that, because you wouldn't see other companies or other production companies really focus that much. Like you had Lassie and stuff, but Jaylee, you were going to say something?
Oh, sorry, random thing.
Yeah.
Poseidon is King Triton's son, so it is kind of
Oh,
Greek
sheesh.
mythology.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Oh, he's even
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, timeless, of course. He's a god. So, yeah.
right.
Uh, okay. Look at
I'm,
it.
I'm like
Okay. So you
doing
gotta.
research into
Yeah. So Jaylee
Little
just sent us
Mermaid.
a link, guys. So we're going to just check it out. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
King Triton used to have red hair, and then the mom of them.
yeah.
I guess they released, and I've never watched this. Maybe I don't know if we'll ever get to it in our Disney things, but I guess there was a prequel movie which explains like
Right.
King Triton some more, and where he came from, and where their mother came from, and what happened to her.
Yeah, so guys, we have a
It
picture
goes
right
deep.
here with, yeah, Queen Athena. Yeah, I can see why. I'm going to say something which might be a little controversial, but I can see why Ariel is the favorite daughter, because she looks a
Yeah,
lot like Mama,
she
right?
looks exactly
She's,
like her.
yeah. But that was a poor, like, okay, if I had to give one criticism of this,
The
in,
favoritism.
in, incidentally, it's something we're talking about. We're talking about the character of King Triton, and I think he's probably the most problematic daddy-o in
Hmm.
this movie, right? Because I know they don't explore it, and it's not meant to be like, it's meant to be a children's film, but he is kind of like, he has issues, like definitely a lot of anger management issues. He
Yeah.
blows up, within seconds. Like he'll go, oh, Ariel in love to Ariel, like he kind of just, the 0 to 360 is kind of incredible on this man. And
Hmm.
I do feel like, I get that he has the whole responsibility of taking care of this whole ocean. It was funny when that dialogue he said, where it's like, it's the under my ocean, my rules. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like my
that's
room, my
my house,
ocean.
my ocean. But I don't know, how would you parse out like property in the sea? It's like my little area, fish area here. But no, I think he is definitely sort of a problematic character. I think if But I also like the fact that even though he has these imperfections, and he's sort of an angry dad, and he's quick to blow up, I do feel like that's used in the plot to showcase it as a weakness. Like it's not shown
Hmm.
as something to be
Yeah.
proud of, or something that's just like, oh, they didn't just let it go by. And you see his regret at how he behaves with his daughter, how he kind of
Yeah.
had come at her, and destroys her whole secret cave and everything, because that propels the girl to actually go more towards Ursula, right? Like that would not have happened. And she even had some hesitation until, you remember that scene where the eels just kicked that little stone of Prince Eric's face. So I
Mhm.
Hmm.
feel like in some ways they were kind of trying to symbolize that the destruction is what led to her going down a dark path. But yeah, so I mean, in that sense, I guess Ariel, she was sort of like a curious teenager. Who knows if her father had dealt with her differently, whether she would have taken the risks that she did. Maybe she would have, because she seems to be somewhat of a daredevil, but you
Yeah.
never know,
Mhm.
and it's a good thing she had like Sebastian. So what did you guys think? I thought Sebastian was one of my favorite characters. Like, I mean, like you guys were saying rightly, he was more of King Triton's sidekick, but eventually he became Ariel's sidekick, right? In her whole land journey. I thought it's a hilarious and pretty cool character, right? Sebastian, the crab,
I think
and
Yeah.
the
all he wants to
pots.
do is sing. I just think he just wants to sing
Yeah.
and orchestrate and get people in the right vibe. And then when people don't meet their mark, he gets pissed.
I
Yeah.
definitely appreciated Sebastian more watching this
As an
as an
adult, too.
adult.
Yeah.
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 Like he just has the passion for music, and I never
Yeah.
realized like how much he loves music, and he just wants to compose. And then seeing him from going to like kind of overprotective like King Triton to like
Yeah.
really loving Ariel was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think even during the reaction I mentioned this, but he's a bit like a surrogate father to Ariel. And it's kind of nice that she has that because, again, like Disney, I think, Emily, you're the one who mentioned this in the last one, the Snow White, movie review. Like, Disney likes to keep the cast pretty tiny in terms of the cast of characters. Like, you have 3 or 4 people that have sort of who are in the plot. And so the fact that she's alone, she has a fish for a friend, so animal friends, not too many human or not humans, I guess, mermen or merwomen as company. And then you have, like, obviously Sebastian kind of filling in the role that her parental figure doesn't, right? Like, he's the more understanding. When she finally gets her legs, and there's that scene I think is pretty iconic of how he is when she's holding him up and not able to speak, and he's like, I'm gonna go tell your dad, and then he's gonna find a way to bring you back and get your
You'd be
whatever.
miserable your entire life.
And
yeah.
Could go home with all the normal fish and just be miserable for the rest of your life.
And that line, I think, kind of goes to show, like, how much he genuinely understands her. Like, even though he doesn't agree with her, he understands her. So that was really sweet. And I think, let's see, any other like, I think all the side characters were pretty funny too. Like Flounder, he didn't have much of a role in the second half. Like, I think he was kind of relegated to be like sort of second or third lead in the support cast once Sebastian took over. But again, they took time to kind of have a personality for Flounder. Like, he's a scaredy cat, or scaredy fish. He's and he's got like that cute innocent voice, and he's constantly loyal to Ariel, like, right, despite his little size, he's sort of
He's the
loyal to her.
bestie.
And even Scuttle, I think Scuttle is I know there was a lot of backlash about how Aquafina, I think, in the remake portrayed Scuttle. I think she's the voice of Scuttle. But this one, I think he's well done, right? His
I love Scuttle.
personality.
Scuttle's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a dingle hopper. Humans use these little babies to straighten their hair out.
Yeah, it's like his comedy is like, I mean, it could get annoying, but they just do it just enough so it's like entertaining. And they use that to their advantage. Like, even in the singing, right? How Scuttle is like clueless and completely giving the wrong information. And it's sort of funny in the end when he actually brings some accurate info to talk about how Ursula is, like, her game plan. It's like he's like, well, have I ever been wrong? Well, not when it's important.
Yeah.
It's like, disclaimer.
He's so confident
Confident,
in what he's
clueless.
doing.
I think every character in this just fits in together. Like, I feel, I don't know if you guys feel differently, but I think it's difficult to criticize anything about this. I really feel it's a good, solid, well done, entertaining film, right?
If anything, it's just crazy that throughout the movie she is so naive and just falling in love, and in the end, like, she just gets married. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it's very fast.
oh, we're getting married.
Oh,
Like,
All
you guys
Disney
are in
movies,
love,
very
but,
fast.
But like, oh no, we're married now. It's like, oh, that's like a little fast for me.
Yeah.
But like, okay, you go, girl.
I know.
And the second movie, they have a kid.
Oh, okay. Well, we haven't
I
seen
haven't
that
seen
one,
the second movie, actually.
okay.
I haven't, but I know that they get a kid. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and I
Moving
think
on with life.
it's her journey back to the sea, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But
Mhm.
guys, let us know if you want us to check out that second film. We are thinking of these sequels to these because I think a lot of us have seen the originals, but we haven't seen the second part. And usually people say the second part is like a miss. But I know, Emily, you were saying Mulan 2 was pretty good. So
Mulan 2 is
maybe.
great. I have not heard much about Little Mermaid 2. I think it might even be a third one. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
I just can't imagine those ones being very good.
It's difficult, right? Like, when you have something that's been so great, like, it's always hard to kind of keep the momentum going. I mean, even just with real films, like, forget animation movies. But anyway, let us know, guys, if you want us to check those out. We might in the future. The last thing I was gonna say that I didn't like about the film as a sort of criticism, because I mean, mostly it's praise for this film. It's nostalgic, it's timeless, it's beautiful. I didn't like the ending of how they showed Prince Eric to be larger than life, like him swimming underwater to kill Ursula. I'm like, are you serious? Like, how many feet under the water are they? And for this man to just come down with his harpoon and attack Ursula, like, I don't know. I guess that's the only part which I feel I'm excited to see the live action maybe give more agency to Ariel, because it is her
Yeah.
story.
I don't know
In
how she would, to be honest, because like he's kind
yeah.
of shown himself to be like an adventuring type. Like
Oh,
he
she's
obviously must be
too.
a good swimmer. He goes out,
Yeah.
yeah, but she's not like necessarily violent. But she also handled herself really well against that shark.
Right. Right.
So it's tricky because she was like at the bottom of the ocean in the middle of this whirlpool, so she was kind of handicapped because she didn't have the water.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
liked to see how they would have handled that. Like if they did have Ariel be the one
To kind of
to,
finally.
yeah, like
Yeah.
how she would have done that. So I guess we'll see in the live action.
I
Yeah.
think that might be something that in some ways, I know sometimes people don't like, things to change. We've talked about this with our Snow White controversy, where people get very like, no, I like the way the original was. But this is something where I do feel like, even from a story point of view, even if you don't want to get into the whole angle of a female having her own agency, it just from a story point of view, it makes more sense for her to get her revenge, because when you see her turn Ursula turn her father into whatever that creature was. Guys, let us know,
Hmm.
what are those little creatures that they turn out to be, which is very pitiful and scary and sad, but what are they supposed to be? Like some sea creature that we missed, but let us know. But yeah, like I think she felt that anger, right, and she wanted to get at Ursula. Then like she realized the enormity of the sacrifice her father made. So I would have enjoyed if she was the one to kind of kill Ursula in the end, but oh well, it's Prince Eric. And yeah, and of course everything ends happily ever after in the final. So they all get married. I think all of the princesses, even if they don't show the final scene like in Snow White, the assumption is they get married, right? Like you meet once, you kiss once, then you marry.
Yeah. If you're in love, you get married.
Disney timeline. Meet once, fall in love quickly in 3 days. I mean, I'm like,
Except for
that's another.
Merida.
I know. It's like 3 days you fall in love,
Yeah.
love's first
I
kiss.
don't disagree. They went through a lot together, but it's like, what if you don't like the way he brushes his teeth? What if,
I know.
what if he's like mean to the help? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, I
doing
mean,
all these little details.
she's seen him with the help, though. To be fair, I mean, he's
Yeah, but you haven't seen
quite.
all the sides. People can front
Right.
in ways that make them seem more appealing. Maybe he's an ass. We don't know.
I know. Maybe he might have like that thing that you said, Jaley, the turn of character, like in Frozen or something.
Yeah.
Who
You
knows?
never know. You never know. I think that's Disney's sort of timeline, very rushed, fall in love, and I guess they have
Yeah.
to end the film, so they're like, fast, let's rapidly. Maybe there was a big gap. Like maybe they didn't say it, but
I
there was a big gap
definitely
between.
think
Couple
that
years.
has changed with modern Disney films. Like you'll still see them
Yeah.
fall in love, but they don't
Yeah.
always like automatically get married at the end of
Right.
it. So
Even
it's
in
interesting to
Mulan,
see.
Hmm.
it took at least it took a couple movies. Like it wasn't like the
Mm.
Yeah.
first one they didn't get married right away.
I didn't know they got
Yeah.
married.
I
I
didn't
think
know
I've
that
only
either.
seen the first Mulan.
Yeah.
I
True.
know.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's maybe again another product of its time. I mean, it's 1989, so it's not really that old. Like 1930s
Mhm.
was a different time, but nonetheless, I mean, maybe it's a Disney formula. Back then, they really wanted to give these two a happy ending, so you're not like confused. Maybe it's because Ariel went through so much to get her prince. Like she traded
They're like,
off her
just
boys
let her
for.
be happy.
They were like, let's
Yeah.
just
Let's let him
rest
go. Let's
assured,
get married.
happily ever. They even put a rainbow at the end, so we were convinced. It's
Yeah, the
like,
rainbow really the nail on the hammer on the nail.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say
Nail on the head.
Nail on the head.
nail on the head.
With the
They're
hammer on the
happy.
nail.
Leave him alone.
Yeah, she's got a man. Oh, I was just gonna add. So before we end, I was just gonna add that the original, like I was telling you guys in the reaction, in the original Grimm's, I think it's a Grimm's fairy tale if I'm not mistaken, or if not, it's a lore I think from back in the past of this Little Mermaid. Actually, let me just look that up very quickly. I think it is Grimm's. But the story in that original one, origin story, is actually pretty sad. So I remember,
Yeah,
so
all the
yeah, it's
Grimms are so tragic.
yeah, it's a Hans Christian Andersen, so Danish writer who penned the original Little Mermaid fairy tale about a young mermaid who longs for an immortal soul, love of a prince. It was first published in 1837, and again, it was nothing like the Disney version. I think my parents, I don't know where in the world we were because we were globetrotting a lot when I was a kid, but they bought me a book.
Mm.
I think of this original one, and in that, what I remember is it's that scene that you see in Disney where the ship kind of sails away and Eric is getting married to Vanessa, and their ship is sailing, and she is there like crying, and that's actually the last scene of the book where she cries and she cries away and becomes foam. So
Oh,
that's the ending. So that's very,
depressing.
I'm kind of glad that of all the alterations, for people who are not a fan of alterations, thank you for altering that, because I think I'd be traumatized if that were what I saw on screen, right? Like, I mean, I would never revisit
Yeah.
this movie, as a kid and as an adult. But yeah, so and I think Jaylee, you spoke about this in our Snow White think, like those original tales were far more darker and grim and depressing. So some things we should appreciate have changed with time and with sensibilities. But anyway, it was awesome, guys. I don't want to ramble on, or I think we've said everything we had to say about reviewing this film. This is a classic. This is beautiful. This is perfect. I do think it is, it still retains its stance as one of my best, most favorite Disney films ever. If you want to check it out, of course, go check out our full unedited reaction in Patreon. Let us know what you thought of Little Mermaid. Any thoughts, any at all. And of course, if you like your comments, we're going to, maybe reply back or pin it, and tell us what other film. Oh, by the way, we are going to watch the live action adaptation of Little Mermaid. This is why we did it today, with our friend Randy. She's going to be joining us. We don't see her as often, so we're very excited to have her on. So we're going to see that, I think, in a day or two, and you'll see it when it's out. Follow Jaylee, Emily, myself, social media links down below. We'll